Hey, week 155. And if you're new here, that's 155 weeks from March of 2020 when I first started tracking the market, when COVID took over our lives and we needed this weekly reporting to happen. So here we are with Real Estate Raccoons in week 155. And what we're going to talk about today is what's happening in the market right now. And you know me, I don't like to talk about, I don't like to use day trader mentality or even day trader verbiage when we're talking about real estate. But my former business partner mentioned to me earlier last week and asked me if I thought this was a dead cat bounce. And if you're not familiar to trading, you're definitely going to think that that sounds super weird. And what a dead cat bounce is, it's a trader term where that describes a upswing in the market during a declining period. And I don't even know how it even came about to be called a dead cat bounce. It's a pretty sick way of naming this thing. But anyway, it is what it is. So essentially, even if you throw a cat from high enough or something, I don't even know what the hell it's all about. But the whole point of this conversation is that there are a lot of people out there right now that are calling the return of the Toronto real estate market based on what's happening today. And I thought that this specific description that people use in the financial markets is quite valid today. But I would agree that it is a similar situation to a dead cat bounce, but I really don't think that it's the exact same situation, meaning I don't believe there's another free fall after this blip that we have now of positivity. So if we look at the actual numbers this week, you'll see another week of really strong sales, like almost 100 condo sales. We haven't seen that in like over 2 quarters. So that's really, really nice to see. We've had more house sales this week than we've had in a number of weeks too. And we're seeing prices kind of creep up a little bit with a lot of multiple offers happening. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago where I talked about 74% of every single house that's sold in the market going into competition and selling for over asking. And remember, over asking doesn't mean, it's sold for some astronomical number that can't be justified by comparables. It just means it was artificially listed low to attract multiple bids. That strategy just wasn't working that well when there were no buyers out there. And now it is. So don't get that confused with like all of these, huge sales that don't have any comparables to justify them, like we had experienced towards the end of 2021 and beginning of 2022. There is another market like that in our future, of course. It's just what's happened. But right now we're at a point where things are selling for a little bit more than they were back October to December of last year. And like I've said, like if you tried to sell during that time, October to December of last year, now is the time to get back to try that again, because you'll probably have a successful sale now. If you needed like an extra 50 or 100 grand and the market wasn't available to you to give you that extra 50 or 100 grand back in October to December, you'll probably get that now. So speak to your realtor, hopefully us, and we can walk you through what your property might be worth. Like we have a client that has a house on a great street in East Leslieville, and he really needs this one specific number to sell in order to make that move up happen for himself. And that wasn't possible pre-December, but it is now. Unfortunately, the property that he wants to buy is also more expensive now, but we're talking, actual cash in hand to the seller versus a number that can be financed. So it's not really a black and white comparison. Anyway, so we have a blip in the market right now, a positive blip in the market right now that's moving things in an upward direction. Now, this is where the whole dead cat bounce thing comes into play, where if you look at a specific graph, you'll see an up and then another down. And again, I don't know where that term came from, but it is what it is. So I think what's happening right now is something similar to that. I think that we have a lot of amazing buyers, like not amazing buyers, what I say, that's not what I mean. We've got a lot of buyers out there that have a more positive attitude than they did before, because January 25th was a very important day for our market. Like it was the most positive market rate announcement from the Bank of Canada than we've had in a very long time. And on the back of that, there really hasn't been too much negative news out there, despite some of these creators on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter who, there's like 4 agents that I see out there that actually do the work to understand what they're talking about. The rest of them are all attention seeking, just ridiculousness that creating fear and just amplifying one-off horrible situations that people are in as some sort of like portrayal of how the market is performing. And I just can't stand that stuff. So like like if you see this stuff, like send it to me just so I can see it and maybe comment on it and kind of get involved, because like I'm kind of tired of sitting back and not commenting and getting involved with these people that are creating this fear out there. Because despite, what you might think, real estate is always a great long-term investment. And if you are financially able to handle a purchase, there's usually a good opportunity in any market. And some people are confusing that kind of sentiment with, oh, these realtors just want to sell you stuff and they'll get, it just doesn't make any real sense to me. So the bottom line is right now there's a lot of optimism in the air with buyers. But remember, we talked about this last week. There's probably going to be a rate increase again in March, where a lot of people wrongfully assumed, based on really no information, it was too early to call a halt to the hike cycle, but some people were. But once those strong employment numbers came out in Canada and the US, over 150,000 jobs created in Canada, over 500,000 jobs created in the US for the January jobs report, that signals some strength in the economy, which means the Bank of Canada will feel more comfortable increasing again in March. And again, when the February jobs numbers come out, I think the same thing might happen at the April announcement, where people assumed that things would be halted by then. Those two increases, hopefully they're just baby increases of 25 basis points each for a total of another 0.5% increase. And bond yields affecting fixed rates, which have pulled back for the past couple of months. So some people were locking in fixed rates under 5%. Now those are back up again. So all of these things are happening in the market right now that most people aren't doing the work to understand and making foolish claims. Those things happening right now are going to affect the market a few months down the road. Once people's pre-approval locked in rates expire, say a couple of months after March, as we head into the summer months, we're probably going to see a bit of a lull this summer, and some of the gains of these months that we're experiencing right now pull back a little bit. But this is why I don't completely agree with the whole dead cat bounce situation, meaning an up and then a further decline. I firmly believe that the bottom of the market is well behind us. But I do think that there is going to be a little bit more pessimism, and I think buyers are going to get back on the fence after the March announcement, and if not the March announcement, for sure the April announcement. So there is still like a runway for sellers to get to market and get their property sold and do what they need to do. But if you are a seller and if you're foolishly being told to wait for the spring market because that will be better for you, do not listen. It's time to get to market right now if you need to sell. So call us. We have about a 3 to 7 day prep period to get from where your property is today. No matter how cluttered it is, no matter how intense it is, we can get your property from where it is right now, as you're seeing it around you, to market ready within 7 days, no matter how bad it is. And if it's in great condition, we can get it to market in like 2 days. But that's besides the point. This spring will be somewhat okay for sellers still, as people still have pre-approvals locked in, but it won't be better than it is today. I don't see anything changing unless we somehow get surprised without an increase at the March announcement. If March does not increase, what do you think is going to happen? If rates do not go up in March, more buyers will come into the market. Then the bottom is for sure behind us, and we're going to have a temporary period of gains, so that cat's going to bounce a little bit higher, for lack of a better term. So I really feel like now is a great opportunity for sellers to get to market and do what they need to do. I feel like if you're a buyer right now, you are going to be in competition, especially in any of the urban markets. If there's anything desirable about the property you're going after, you are going to be in competition, most likely for a house. I haven't seen any new house in the urban markets of Toronto be listed without an offer date in the past 2 weeks. So that 74% from like 3 weeks ago probably is turning into almost 100%. Now, I didn't look through every single listing this time. I didn't have the time, but I will. Condos, similar story. I mean, condos have had 2 weeks in a row of really, really strong sales. So people that were hoping for deals just aren't finding them. People that were hoping for that negotiating room is not quite there like it was October to December. That was essentially the bottom. Right now, we are I don't say far from the bottom, but we are climbing out of the bottom. And after this blip happens, after the next slowdown happens, we're going to go for another run. And once rates start coming down, whether it's the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, there is going to be another move up in prices. And who knows how long that's going to last. But the light at the end of the tunnel, at least, is there. We're seeing these spurts of optimism. I see no reason to have prices sharply correct again like they did after March of 2022. The only way that's going to happen is if we start losing jobs en masse across all industries and people have no choice but to sell their properties. Because there's two reasons why prices get affected. Prices don't come down just because they're too high. Like, let's make that super clear. Prices come down because there aren't enough buyers to buy what's on the market. So sellers have to kind of have that race to the bottom and catch the few buyers that are there. Or buyers are there, but there are just way too many listings to satisfy the demand. So what's going to trigger people to come to market with their properties? They can't afford to keep them. And right now, after all the things that we've gone through, massive interest rate hikes since last March, people have done what they can to keep their properties, and they're continuing to do so. We've had the majority of all the rate increases happen. People have absorbed it and they're making it happen. Of course, there are power of sale properties all over the place, but a drop in the bucket considering the number of mortgages that exist. Mortgage default rates have not dramatically increased over the past couple of months. So there's nothing signaling a bunch of over-leveraged panic sellers coming to market in the coming months. So that's one thing pushed aside. And what's going to remove a bunch of buyers from the market? Higher rates and fear, lack of certainty. Right now, there seems to be some certainty in the air in the minds of a lot of buyers. And when buyers are certain, they make purchasing decisions, and that's what they're doing right now. But that certainty might be based on some false optimism around where the market is headed right now, because like I said, we do have a leveling off after the next few months. Specifically, I don't know when, but after the spring, there should be a lull. If there isn't, awesome for sellers, not so great for buyers. If there is, if you're still a buyer at that time, good for you. There's probably going to be a slight discount on that property. Will it be worth waiting for? Probably not. There usually never is any good reason to wait, especially if you're looking for something specific. And if you're financially ready, able, like, let's focus on the lifestyle, the thing that triggered that move idea in your head in the first place. That's really what a lot of end user buyers should be focused on. Investors, total different story. We've still got a lot of blood in the water with assignments. So if you can pick up some pre-construction condos at the original purchase prices from 2018 onward, the problem is some of those original purchase prices might be higher than you had hoped for too. So like, the perceived deal is there, but in the context of what's available in the resale market, not such a hot deal. Like, I think we have one of the best deals right now at Riverside Square, Queen and Broadview, a 530 square foot unit right in this new building coming up at Queen and Broadview, like the downtown of the east side, for well under $1,000 a square foot. Like, you're not finding that even in the resale market right now. So there are some pretty good deals for investors out there, but in resale land, deals are pretty much off the table across the board. So anyway, I think that's a good place to leave it. Let's look out for those employment numbers. The thing is, the employment numbers come out after the March 2nd rate announcement. So it'll be very interesting to see what is going to happen in April after those employment numbers come out. And we'll see what inflation is doing, because a lot of people are getting optimistic about inflation coming down. But when you really dig down into the specifics of what's bringing inflation numbers down, I mean, a 0.1% decrease in inflation from 6.4 to 6.3 is really not that great. So I'd like to see some more dramatic numbers to get down to that, where ideally the goal is between 2 and 3%. That's what we want inflation to be. And I don't know if 2023 is going to do that. And until we see the path to that 3% or 2%, rates are going to stay relatively high. So let's see what the next few months look like. But like I said, if you're a seller, give us a shout. You need to get to market really quickly. If you're a buyer, there are still some decent opportunities out there, but we have to prepare you for a competition. And that is all. So anything else, reach out, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great week.